Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Wednesday, the 5th day of July 2023. I hope that you're safe and healthy today, that your family's safe and healthy, that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. As you can see, I need a shave, probably because I'm still in vacation mode, but that's going to end after today, so I'm enjoying my last day of that. But anyway, blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, along with the first responders, who every day are out here trying to save lives. And those also that pick up garbage for us to keep streets and sidewalks and places clean and disease-free. Those also that make deliveries of things for our convenience that we take for granted. And double blessings upon the men and women that are out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover the teenagers and children that are the victim of child molestation and pedophilia. The victims also of prostitution and child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators of these things, the profiteers of these things, and the perverts of these things, and those that make this industry. Finally, double blessings on the homeless, nearly 600,000 men, women, and mostly precious children that are on the streets of the United States of America and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Today, I want to talk about two sides of a coin. That is the New York Knicks for 2023-2024. Now, the thing is, brethren, is that there's two ways this is going to go. And it's very clear, actually. It's not that complicated. The first way is the obvious. The Knicks could stand pat with what they got right now and move forward into the season. And the way I'm looking at this is what they did is they moved Obi Toppin because Obi wanted to go, because Obi was a power forward in Tom Thibodeau's view, strictly a power forward, not a three. Now, myself and some of us disagree, think that Obi could have played the three, but that's not what's important here. What's important is that Tom Thibodeau thought Obi's a four, period. And because he's playing behind Julius Randle, he wasn't going to get the time that he should as a guy that's a starter level guy. He's going to get that in Indiana. Number two, with regard to Obi, is Obi wanted Indiana. The Knicks were trying to do right by Obi. There were multiple teams calling about him. They could have got more capital from other teams for Obi, but they were trying to do right by Obi. Some of y'all don't understand that, but that's what was going on. So Obi wanted Indiana, and Indiana wanted Obi, and that's what they got out of the deal. The Knicks were trying to get draft capital for him. They got what they could, and they moved on, and hopefully Obi flourishes, which I believe he will, big time in Indiana. Now, for that now, they went and signed Donte Divincenzo. Donte Divincenzo, someone pointed out on my channel, is really a reincarnation, a younger version of Alec Burks. Donte Divincenzo can play the point guard and the two guard. Sometimes he can play the three, but he really at 6'4" is really a one or a two. Okay, so he really is a guy that can back up at the point guard spot and back up at the two guard spot. So they signed him in there, and that makes the Knicks very versatile, very difficult to defend against. Because Donte, again, is very versatile, and he adds to Josh Hart, who can play the two, the three, or the four. Emmanuel Quickley, who can play the one or the two. And so you got versatile wings and backcourt people coming off your bench. So when you look at it in totality, at the point guard spot, the Knicks are starting Jalen Brunson. Behind Jalen Brunson at the point guard, they got Emmanuel Quickley and Donte Divincenzo. Okay, what about Deuce? Well, we'll talk about him in a second. But this is going to be what they're dealing with right now. At the two guard spot, you're starting Quentin Grimes. Behind Quentin Grimes, you still have Donte Divincenzo and Emmanuel Quickley. So that you got really between Donte Divincenzo, Emmanuel Quickley, and Josh Hart, which you could also play at the two. You got three guys that can play at least two positions, and in Hart's case, a third position if you need him to. At the three spot, you got R.J. Barrett starting at the three. You have Josh Hart. You have Quentin Grimes that could also play the three. So you got three players that can play the three, the small forward spot, if necessary, there, right? So again, at every spot so far, you have at least three players that can play that spot. Then at the four spot, of course, you're starting Julius Randle. You still have Josh Hart, and you still have R.J. Barrett, who played the four multiple times in the second unit this past season, in my view, to good success. So you have multiple positions where you can use multiple players, that's very hard to game plan against. The key thing is not offensively, because they're going to be really good offensively, in my view, with the addition of Donte Divincenzo, but it's defensively. And this is the key here. Right now, as it stands, Grimes is your best perimeter defender. IQ is a great perimeter defender. So is Josh Hart. Donte Divincenzo can hold more than hold his own. He's a very high IQ, like Burks. Burks could play some good defense. He wasn't a great defensive player. High IQ, knows how to play the passing lanes. That's Donte DiVincenzo. So you have some good defenders. Now, the key thing here is what the difference could make the Knicks a very high upper echelon NBA team is R.J. Barrett. If R.J. Barrett can take a step forward defensively, we're not even talking about his three-point shot, his foul shooting, his turnovers, his finishing at the rim. We're not talking about any of that. If he just takes a step forward defensively, the Knicks is a different team, okay? Different team. And so that's going to be, to me, something to look for this year. If he can guard the threes, if he can guard the fours, that's what we really need from him this year. We got the DiVincenzo, the Emmanuel Quickleys, the Quentin Grimeses that can guard ones and twos and threes. But if he can guard threes and fours effectively, and that's why I'm not worried about a backup four if we have RJ, because if he can guard the threes and the fours, and he's got the body to guard fours. So if he can do that and do it at a good level, a nice level, the Knicks are going to be really good this year. They're going to be really good. So you have your starting five, and you have more than adequate backup. Okay? And then on top of that, you still have Deuce McBride and Jericho Sims. Now, Deuce, the Knicks picked up his $2 million, a little less than $2 million option. Number of teams, according to Ian Begley, were inquiring about Deuce McBride because there's a number of teams that want to put him in their rotation. He's not in Tom Thibodeau's rotation, and he's going to get some minutes because it's an 82-game season. Nobody plays 82 games anymore. So he's going to get, for example, Brunson played 68 games last year. I'm expecting him to play 68 games this year. You're going to get Grimes play 71 games last year. He probably plays 72 games this year. So you're going to get some players that are going to miss time. That's going to bring Deuce back up into the rotation for at least 10 games, 12 games. Plus, there's going to be those games where he's just going to play great defense as he does out of nowhere with 2 or 3 minutes, and then you're going to get that as well. But the Knicks will lose him next year because of this, because they're pretty set on all the other players. Especially this is true if Emmanuel Quickly signs an extension, which is most of us are hoping, I'm hoping he does. If he signs an extension this year, then Deuce is going to be on another team next year. And that's good, because I want to see Deuce, just like Obi, I want to see him thrive and succeed and get minutes on another team if he's not going to do it here. So that's that situation. But then there's a second situation. The second situation is the Knicks pick up a power forward. Now, at this point, there's a number of power forwards left, but the real, to me, the biggest one at this point in terms of the Knicks. Now, this is the thing I want to bring up. The Knicks I don't think they're going to be trading R.J. Barrett or Julius Randle. They're just not going to do that right now. So if that's the case, you're dealing with a backup power forward. And if you're dealing with a backup power forward that you're going to pay something, it'll be somewhere between $9 million and $12 million, in my view, is what they're going to pay a backup power forward. If that's the case, then you're talking about a guy like a Grant Williams. You're talking about a Grant Williams. And if you're talking about Grant Williams, you're going to pay him something along the lines of the mid-level exception. Now, the Knicks already spent theirs, but I'm talking about the equivalent in money. Where would they get this money from? Evan Fournier. That's where they get it from. So if they did that, they traded Fournier's contract and a sign and trade for Grant Williams, the Knicks are almost certainly, Tom Thibodeau is forced to play a 10-man rotation. He's forced, because now let's say you pay Grant Williams $10 million a season. Okay? You're paying Donte DiVincenzo $12 million a season. Okay, you got Josh Hart, who you're going to be paying somewhere about $18 million a season. He's going to get $13 million this year. And of course, there's Emmanuel Quickly, who's worth between $80 and $100 million also. You're not going to be paying all of these guys to have one paying only 12 minutes a game. Okay, That means you're going to have a wholesale 5-man second unit, which is what some of us have been wanting since they drafted Obi. But this is going to happen if they went and got a Grant Williams. There's no doubt. This is what's coming next if they went and got a Grant Williams. So you're going to see the Knicks, play 10 minutes. That's if they went and got a Grant Williams or somebody like that. Like I said, they can really go into the season with what they now have. They can go into the season with what they now have. They don't have to add another player if they don't want to. Some of you keep mentioning Isaiah Roby. I hear you. But if Isaiah Roby I would be surprised if he even got the amount of money, the amount of time that Obi got, the 12, 10, 15 minutes. I'll be surprised if he got that because he's not here for that. Okay, so the Knicks, and I would not be surprised if they used him as trade bait with whoever, trying to get whoever they're going to get. So again, we're talking about you still have a restricted free agent in Grant Williams. To me, he's the best one that fits the Knicks. I know some of you are Bol fans. I like Bol myself, but I don't think Tom would like him because he at least gives off an aura of unavailability. And some of y'all got to understand that, which you're not buying that. I like Bol as a player. He's got talent. He really does. But his availability is going to be a problem for Tom Thibodeau. That's not the type of player that Tibbs is going to look at, okay? Even though he would be able to be gotten pretty cheap, you'd probably be able to sign him for $5 million a year. So in that regard, he's a Leon type of deal, but I don't know if he's a Tom Thibodeau type of player. So you're really talking about Grant Williams. There's a couple of guys. There's Grant Williams, really. There's P.J. Washington. I don't know what he's going to get. And then you're talking about maybe Keon Ellis. He's a restricted free agent. I don't think they're going to get him either. But we're really talking about, you're talking about two guys. You're talking about Grant Williams and P.J. Washington. Really is what you're talking about right now. If the Knicks, and Grant Williams to me is the better guy because he plays both sides of the basketball, rough and tough guy, hits threes, doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective all the time. That's a guy, the Knicks could get. So if you're going to get a guy, if you see them sign or do a sign and trade, which would be going out maybe Roby and Evan Fournier, and they bring in Grant Williams, there's no doubt they're going with a 10-man rotation, which is not a bad thing. That would be a good thing. But if you don't see them make any moves, which is entirely possible. I know people be like, well, I feel another move coming. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm looking at both sides equally. I'm trying to be balanced here. If they don't and they go with this team we got, we're good. Either way, let me tell you very plainly, 50-plus wins. Either way. Okay? And don't let RJ take that step forward I'm talking about. Don't let Grimes become more involved in the offense in terms of getting him 12 to 15 shots a game. Lights out. Lights out. Okay? Some of y'all worry about Julius. I hear you. But you ain't worried about Julius during the season. He's our problem child. He's going to give us some attitude during the season. And maybe he won't show up in the playoffs. I don't know. But I do know this. 2 years out of 3, he's all NBA. Top 15 in the league. Okay? Some people say that don't mean nothing. You don't know nothing if you're saying that. To be top 15 in the NBA, you are a daggone good basketball player. Okay? Period. All right? So that alone to me will make the Knicks 50-plus wins. Same team, just a couple of tweaks. You add a Donte Divincenzo, and you really are talking about 50-plus wins. If they start to flow, the way Tibbs is game, if you've been watching Tibbs like I have, first 30 games is they're feeling it out. Most defensive-oriented teams take a little bit longer, but this may not be as long as normal because of the relationship between Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, and Donte Divincenzo. They're very, very versatile. Okay? Now, Brunson is an all-NBA level point guard. We know that. He's not going to play 2 or anything else. He's really all-NBA level point guard. Some people don't like him as a point guard, whatever. I'm not arguing with y'all. The dude's are all-NBA level point guard. And he's going to be the number one option for the Knicks, as he should be. But then you got Grimes, RJ, like I said, Donte, Josh Hart, IQ. You got a lot of firepower, man. I was really concerned that with Obi going to Indiana. Mobb Deep went to Indiana. But as I analyze this, the way they would play it with 9 players, as I mentioned, you got so many backups and so many you could put, for example, RJ at the 4, Grimes at the 3, Donte at the 2, Brunson or IQ at the 1. That's your second unit. You could do that. And you can either have Isaiah Hartenstein at the 5 in your second unit. That's a really good second unit, y'all. That's what I'm saying. So, and there's multiple. That's just one. You could have Josh Hart at the 4, RJ at the 3. You could have, Donte DiVincenzo at the 2. You could have, there's too many ways that you can skin this cat. And Tom Thibodeau will use them, okay? Especially a 9-man rotation. So that is something, to be excited. I'm excited about this Knicks. This is the 4th year of a 5-year rebuild. As I mentioned, generally speaking, in the NBA, you're talking about rebuild, you're talking about a 5-year plan. It's almost like real life in that regard. It's one of the few ways that NBA is like real life. But in real life, I always try to look at a 5-year plan. I've been doing that a long time. Like, what am I expecting to be in 5 years? What is my finances expect to be like? Where are we expecting to live? What are we looking like debt-wise in 5 years? That's where, it's good for us to do that as people. But in the NBA, a rebuilding plan is a 5-year plan. So the Knicks had just come off 17 wins and 21 wins before Thibodeau got there. And now they've been, 41 out of 72, 37 out of 82, and 47 out of 82. 2 playoff appearances, first round win in 10 years. And so they're really on track. This year right here is a little bit more pressure because I'm expecting a run to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm expecting 50-plus wins from them. And I think they can, in fact, I'm confident they could do that because of what I just said in terms of their rotations, in terms of their difficulty, they match up. They really are in good shape. So they can keep this team intact and not make any more moves. Or they can add a power forward. I don't think they're going to make a major trade. I would be surprised if they traded RJ or they traded Julius Randle at this point. I would be very surprised if they did that. I would be surprised if they did that. Because you don't need to do that. You can really add a Grant Williams with a trade of a Fournier. And you don't have to, and you can now have 2 full 5-man rotations on 2 units. And you haven't, and you still got all of your major, core right there. So that I can see them doing something like that. But to go get an OG Anunoby means you're giving up an RJ Barrett. That's what you're not going to get an OG Anunoby without giving up a major piece on your team. That would be an RJ Barrett or Julius Randle. And I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. I see this team staying intact. And plus, they'd be dealing with Masai Ujiri. Masai Ujiri is like just as difficult to deal with as Danny Ainge. He could be ridiculous. So I don't think they're going to give up RJ for OG right now. And so especially when you got a PJ Washington, a Grant Williams, that Grant Williams is a restricted free agent, just coming off a $3 million deal. So if you offered him 4 years, $36 million, or something like that, 3 years, $36 million, he want that, okay? And then you can trade your Evan Fournier and do a sign and trade and get Grant Williams. So I that sounds more like something that they would do versus making a major trade for one of their major pieces right now. I don't think that's going to happen, y'all. I know we were kind of excited about that, but I was only excited about it with the possibility really of Julius being moved. And I don't think that's happening. I don't want RJ to be moving. I've been saying that. I can see the logic. They dangled him last year, for Donovan Mitchell. I don't think they're going to do it this year. So I'm thinking right now, we're looking at a Grant Williams, PJ Washington type guy that could come in and play that backup 4 role. And it would be a complete 10-man rotation. It would have to be in that scenario. And so that's what you're talking about. Grant Williams really fits. Like I said, he doesn't demand the ball. He plays good defense. He's a rough cat, can rebound. He'll be happy with that. And he would be an adequate backup. He's not as good as Obi Toppin because he's not a starter. Obi is a starter, okay? But he doesn't have to be. He has to fit and add value to our second unit, which he would do in spades. So either way, we're going to find out, between now and August 1st. You're going to find out if you're going to get a guy like that or not. And you're going to find out if they're going to keep the team they have. And I'm telling you, either way, we're 50 plus wins. Either way, okay? And like I said, don't let RJ take a step forward. And especially to me, there's a lot of areas he needs, to move forward in. Better shooting from the three-point line, more consistent from the foul line, better defense, finishing close, with the finishing within 10 feet of the basket, 8 feet of the basket, consistently. He has the ability to do all of this, but just one thing. If we can get him to step forward defensively or at a high level, this is going to be really good. Okay, that's just one guy. But if you get him to step forward defensively, and the reason I'm kind of confident in that is because number one, he's going to be in his fifth season. Number one, he's going to be in his fifth season. He's still only 23 years old, and I'm expecting him to have to guard 3s and 4s this year, as opposed to 2s, 3s, and 1-2s and 3s. If he could, because the addition of Josh Hart and Donte changes what RJ has to do defensively. So if you can get him to focus on 3s and 4s, his body is strong enough. He's a full 6'6", 6'7". If he grew to 6'8", fine. But I'm saying we know he's at least 6'6", 6'7", RJ. So, and he's solid. He's like 200 something pounds, man. So he can guard. He's strong enough to guard 4s, and I think he can guard 3s if that's what he had to focus on. So if he can just step up in those two areas and play really, really high level defense on those type of players, and you're going to get high level. Grimes is your best perimeter defender in the rotation. And now you're adding Josh Hart. Donte Divincenzo can play these against 1s and 2s. He might struggle a little bit about 3s, but 1s and 2s, he can play defense now. So, he's not, don't ask him to guard 3s and 4s. But 1s and 2s, he's Alec Burks 2.0, high level, play the passing lane, very high IQ on both sides of the basketball. I like DiVincenzo for that. And the versatility that he has to play 1s or 2s is really good. So you have that IQ is a high level defender now, period, end of story. He can guard 1s, 2s, or 3s. And he's going to play the 1 or the 2. Very, very high level. So now you got that. 50 wins. No matter what, I don't care if they make a move or don't. If they keep this team as it is, 50 wins. The Knicks are top 4 in the East with this team. They're top 4 in the East right now. The continuity alone, plus you just tweak them and add it up. Now you're going to get a full season of Josh Hart. You're going to get a full season plus a training camp with Donte DiVincenzo. You're going to get Grimes and Brunson working together this summer to learn more of each other. 50 wins, okay? 50 wins, could be more, okay? So I like what we're looking like. I'm very excited for this Knicks team in year 4. We're pushing out for the ECF, and I'm expecting that. So let's see what happens, y'all. Anyway, y'all enjoy your Wednesday. So.